Barrows is a popular minigame due to its valuable rewards with a low level entry. In this guide, we'll go over its base mechanics along with safe spotting techniques to minimize supply usage so you can make more profit. The easiest way to get there is by using a Barrows teleport tablet. Those can be bought from the GE. If you're in Iron Man, there are a couple ways to get there. The first one is by using Mauritania's Hard Dive reward or the Elite one. The plate legs can teleport you to Bergdorf and then you can run north and east. The second one involves feather rings. You can use the code BIP if you have 50 agility. After teleporting, just run east, or BKR if you don't have 50 agility. After teleporting, run southeast and board the boat. The boat will take you directly west of the boss. The third way is by running all the way from Canopus, use the Myarchy hideout shortcut and run to the swamp boat previously mentioned. The only real requirement is the quest Priest in Peru to unlock access to Mauritania. It is recommended to have partial completion of Fairy Tail 2 if you plan on using fairy rings, completion of Lost City to have access to the Dragon Dagger and the Dragon Longsword, completion of Animal Magnetism to have access to the Avis devices, completion of Insertion Myarchy if you plan on using the Myarchy hideout shortcut, completion of Innate Myarchy if you plan on using the Bergdorf Bank, completion of Underground Pass for access to the Ivan Staff if you don't have a Trident of the Seas or Swamp, and it's extremely recommended to have completed the Mauritania Hard Diary for 50% more runes per chest, along with unlimited teleports that the Mauritania Playlegs 3 or 4 provides if you don't have access to teleport tablets. The following skills are a must: 50 attack for Ivan Staff, 60 attack for the Dragon Dagger, 60 defense for better tanking, 50 ranged, 50 magic, and 45 prayer. It is recommended to have the following skills: 70 attack for the Abyssal Whip, 70 strength for better max hits, 61 range for the Rune Crossbow, 75 magic for the Trident of the Seas or Swamp, 60 prayer to minimize prayer potion usage, 50 agility for enough run energy for the whole run. The easiest way to bank is by teleporting to the Ferox Enclave, drinking from the pool of refreshment, banking and teleporting back to Barrows. If you have a maxed player on house, feel free to use it instead. To the Barrows you will need ranged or melee armor with mage gear, along with melee and ranged gear switches. The reason we are not using mage armor is because all brothers except Arim have extremely low magic stats, which make them vulnerable to magic even with negative magic bonuses. For lower levels in a tight budget, you can use rune armor with Ivan's Staff. It is recommended to bring along prayer gear and some extra magic bonuses. For the melee switch, bring a Dragon Dagger for specs and a Dragon Scimitar. If you haven't completed Monkey Madness, you can also bring a Dragon Longsword. Also bring a Rune Kite Shield for extra defense when using melee, and for the range switch bring a magic shortbow with rune arrows, along with the best D'hide armor you have, and consider bringing a restore potion at lower levels. When upgrading, consider a Helm of Nade's Knot or a Berserker helmet, and Dragon armor along with better gloves from Recipe for Disaster. Dragon boots can also help with melee max hits and defense. Upgrading to a Trident is also a good idea along with better tank armor. The Occult Necklace is by far the best upgrade you can have, and for the melee switch consider bringing an Abyssal Whip, and switching your Rune Kite Shield for a Dragon Defender is a good idea. Blessed D'hide armor will be a nice upgrade to have for the extra range bonuses. An inbuilt God Cape and Tormented Bracelet will provide extra DPS. For the switches you can bring Zenite Jewelry, and for the range switch you can bring a Toxic Blowpipe. With higher levels and better gear, you can bring less supplies, minimizing cost. In every inventory you should bring a Super Attack and Super Strength, along with good food at lower levels. At higher levels you can bring whatever food you have left at bank. You should consider bringing a Holy Wrench if you have lower prayer level. A spade is required to enter the crypt. Erin uses magic and is vulnerable to range or melee. He can also cast curses, which will lower your stats. A restore potion can be brought with you to minimize the impact of the curses, but at higher levels it is not needed. It is advised to use protection prayers against him since his attacks are fairly accurate. Kaoru uses range and is vulnerable to melee and magic. He is able to lower the player's agility level. It's advised to use protection prayers against him since his attacks are fairly accurate. Dark uses melee and is vulnerable to magic. The trick is that the lower his health is, the more damage he does. His attacks can be devastating to the players, being able to hit up to 57s when he's low on hit points. Always use prayer against him or a safe spot. Good to use melee and is vulnerable to magic. It's recommended to use protection prayer against him at lower levels, since he's able to heal when he does damage. At higher levels he can be tanked without much problem since he's quite inaccurate. Thorg uses melee and is vulnerable to magic. His special effect is being able to reduce the player's run energy by 20%. Regarding to protection prayers, they are only needed at lower levels. Varric uses melee and is vulnerable to magic. Fighting him can be a bit challenging because his attacks have a 25% chance of ignoring the protection prayers and the player's defense. Since Varric can hit through protection prayers, it's recommended to bring food. Crypts consist of a small room with a coffin in the middle. Once you enter, a timer will count down. When the timer hits 0, your prayer will be drained. For every brother defeated, the timer will tick faster. Once you enter a crypt, interact with the coffin in the middle to wake the brother. One of the coffins will be a secret passage to the tunnels. The tunnels consist of a 3x3 grid with corridors connecting each other. There's a chest in the middle. There is also a longer corridor for each side. You will spawn in one of the 4 corners. Some doors will be locked at the start and for the main room, forcing you to follow a path. For every door you enter, there is a small chance that a brother will spawn from the crypt you entered. Be aware that some brothers need protection prayers to be fought safely. After making your way to the main room, you will be presented a puzzle. If you have rune light, simply click on the green square. If you don't have it, you can just solve the puzzle. When you enter the main room, you can open the chest. If you haven't encountered the corresponding brother yet, he will spawn. Once he's dead, you can loot the chest. For every brother killed, you will receive an extra roll on the drop table, and the set from every brother you killed will be added to the pre-roll drop table, making it worth defeating all brothers because that will maximize the chances of receiving uniques. There's a reward mechanic for the boss and for the non-unique loot. You will receive more loot for defeating more brothers and enemies within the crypt and tunnels. Keep in mind that more isn't always better. Once you hit 88.1%, you will be eligible for both racks, which lower the average loot value. Always try to keep the reward value as close to 88% without going past it. This will maximize the amount of runes you get without throwing undesirable loot into the mix. The easiest way to reach the cap is to defeat all 6 brothers along with 2 skeletons and a bloodworm or a crypt rat. These are personal preference. With higher melee stats, you can consider not bringing a range switch. Everyone can be specced with a dragon dagger and finish it with a whip if necessary. It's better DPS to Mage Carol with a trident and with magic damage gear, but it's less cost efficient. The easiest rotation in my opinion is Aram, Carol, Darok, Gutton, Torag, and Varric. This rotation will only require 2 gear switches at most. Range to melee to mage or melee to mage if you didn't bring a range switch. You can safe spot enemies in the tunnels by using the ladders or debris. The place where the ladders are supposed to be also works. You can force spawn brothers at the tunnels by repeatedly going through doors to be able to safe spot them. This is useful when the tunnels was found in a melee brother script. Thanks for watching the guide, have a great event.